game still rapping at a high capacity. If Nas wants to smoke, come in the booth. I will rap circles around.
You don't want no smoke. He enjoying that 150 million, 200 million.
Okay then, so then leave me alone while I'm on the field.
You was effing with him. He wasn't bothering you.
They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them know.
Jim Jones was never better than Nas. Jim Jones will never be better than Nas. And this is coming from somebody that's not a Nas fan. I love Dipset. I love the Diplomats. I love Bird Gang. But we not about to start rewriting history because Jim Jones got confidence.
I recently saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
that's my young boy.
Big hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying? Nas is like a god.
In my era.
Bro, you been in this thing, but lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
y'all
but look how you dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the things that we listen to.
I can be in the church house. You can't F with Nas lyrics. I don't know who told you that. Now look, I know you on that good stuff, but you're not seeing Nas.
You got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better than Nas.
It don't matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the Diplomats but you.
Hold on, Jim. Hold on.
That shirt too tight.
Hold on.
Jim. You want to go back to I Really Mean It? I Really Mean It started. We could go back to the history, bro.
But you didn't even say that, bro.
Jim Jones popped up on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. 50 Cent didn't waste time throwing subs or typing out a response. He just slid onto Instagram with a federal transcript from back in the day. No names, no captions, just vibes. But the message was loud and clear. He let the internet detectives handle the rest. Now everybody's crawling through old wiretaps, clipping up interviews, and trying to connect dots like they're in an FBI office. Meanwhile, Jim is out here in the gym, flexing like he's prepping for a whole rap war, talking diss tracks, shouting into the mic, pacing like he's about to be back in Rikers. But let's be real, this beef ain't just about Nas, and it's definitely not just about ego. This feels more like 50 Cent stepping in to remind the whole game he still holds the keys to the vault, and if he wants, he'll open it, especially on the ones who somehow skated past serious charges. This might have started with Jim trying to make a point, but now it's looking like he lit a fire that could burn through the industry. See, Jim name-dropping Nas, that always gets weird real fast, and it's not by accident.
Nas. But remember, Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade.
Yes.
So Nas was my idol when I was young. Like you did, came to dressing, the wordplay, the music, everything. I was a superior Nas fan, period. I'd never take that away from him. But then as I got in the game, you got to realize that your rivals would be idols, and not to take anything away from that. I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation. No, me, Jim Jones. No Diplomats, no nobody else. Me, Jim Jones. Check my track record, then check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries, then check all them entries and and I'm not taking nothing away from nobody, but I hear the comparisons and then be trying to act funny when it comes. No, I've been spanking a lot of this about the industry. I've been putting on.
That tension been brewing for years. It's not some new school versus old school drama. It all dates back to 2002 when Nas went wild on Hot 97 and randomly dissed Cameron, saying his album was trash for no real reason. That alone was enough to send Dipset into full battle mode, and Jim jumped in like he was leading the charge. Things turned ugly fast. Nas and Dipset started sending disses back and forth on mixtapes, but Jim, he made it super personal. He straight up said he'd smack the kufi off Nas and kept that same wild energy in his music. Tracks like We Fly High weren't just flexing, they were warnings. Just a year ago, Jim Jones was showing love to Nas. No sneak disses, no shady remarks, just pure respect. But somewhere along the line, that admiration turned cold, real cold. It all flipped when Jim pulled up to Fat Joe and Jadakiss's podcast, and Fat Joe, being the master instigator he is, decided to poke the bear. Now that moment could have easily stayed a footnote on the timeline, just another spicy clip for the blogs. But nah, Jim wasn't letting it go. He couldn't help himself. He leaned all the way in, ready to take the smoke head on. That's when he dropped one of the wildest takes in recent hip-hop memory. He didn't just say he was relevant. Nah, he claimed he's more influential than Nas.
I'm still playing at a high level.
Hey,
you check my record,
you jumping up and
I'm still playing at a high level. I'm rapping at a high level. You better check my stats, bro. I will run circles around Nas rapping right. I will run circles around Nas rapping right now. Right now, I will run Saturn around Nas right now rapping.
This is the biggest podcast you ever been on. Do you know what podcast you been on bigger than this one?
Hold on. We on topic. Hold on.
This is what I do. You see
Name a podcast you been on bigger than this one. When you get big, you...
The Queensbridge icon, the man behind Illmatic, God's Son, King's Disease, the same Nas who's still selling out Madison Square Garden in his 50s like it's light work. But Jim, he wasn't shaking. He didn't hesitate. He didn't blink. He doubled down like he was dead serious, like he knew exactly what he was doing. That interview didn't just stir the pot. It flipped the whole table, lit the room on fire, and then walked out like nothing happened. And just when you thought he might back off, nope. Jim spun the block again. This time he showed up on Shannon Sharpe's nightcap, sitting with Shannon and Chad Okocinco Johnson. He came in cool, but it was clear he came to defend his words. But instead of clearing things up, he poured even more gasoline on the fire. Then came that moment, the one that made fans literally pause the episode like, wait, did he really just say that? What Jim said next, it didn't just shock the culture, it made people question his whole mindset. Just when it seemed like Jim was done stacking up comparisons, he dropped one more wild take. He started digging up that old Dipset versus Nas beef from the early 2000s and claimed he's not only been a bigger Nas fan, but that he surpassed him in impact. Bold, right?
I never got to see Nas. I never got to sit down and have a conversation with Nas and things like that. I had called you about it and things like that. That was like still one of the people that I never got to have a conversation throughout my history of rap and things like that. I think I would love to have a conversation with Nas. I wouldn't know if he knows it, but Nas was one of my all-time favorite rappers coming up and things like that.
I've heard you say that.
Since the barbecue and things like that. Like he really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anybody else.
He tried to soften it by throwing Nas some compliments, calling him one of the flyest dressers in the game. But every time he circled back to the same point. Nas doesn't move the streets like Jim does. No matter how poetic or legendary Nas is, Jim swears he's the one with the real street influence. And then the salt kicked in hard. Jim started roasting Shannon Sharpe's outfit, calling him out for his fashion like he was mad at everyone in the room. Meanwhile, Okocinco just sat there watching Shannon and Jim go back and forth like he was at a tennis match. Then it got messy. Jim randomly brought Nas back up and said he's better. And when Shannon challenged that, Jim flipped the script and accused Shannon of only inviting him for clicks and views. That's when Unc snapped. He was like, this the biggest podcast you ever been on.
Can I ask you a question, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
You smoke, right?
Yeah.
Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?
I might have been a little bit. I'm way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when you talk about the sales and all this type of. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that bullshit.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit run. But Nas always came up second to Jay and DMX and all these other people. Like,
ain't no shame in that. There a lot of folks came up second to Tom Brady.
He never had that type of influence on us, except for his first album. I already told you, I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear. And we used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and shit like that.
Shannon switched it up quick. From chill host to full-blown opponent, he wasn't playing no more. If Jim wanted smoke, Shannon was ready to take it straight to the gym. When Jim told him he was better than Nas, Shannon didn't just come for his lyrics, he came for his physique. Jim tried to dodge the heat from 50 by making it all about who could lift more weights. Challenging Shannon to a workout showdown like that proved who was more relevant.
You gotta start buying baggy your clothes, big fella. You too big, man.
You talk about you in the gym. Now you want me to see me in the gym?
Oh, we could do
Since
that.
You like to talk that ish. Now come see me in the gym.
We talking about working out. What we talking about? Working out or strength? What we talking about? Working out or strength?
Work however you want to do it.
We talking about
since you got money.
And we talking about
put your money where your mouth is.
So you talking about working out?
Run them stacks.
You talking about working out? I burn you. You talking about working out or strength? because you probably can lift a lot more than me.
Whatever.
You're bigger than me. You're probably stronger than me. But if you talk about working out, I'll burn you.
This ain't what you do. This ain't what you want. You are doing good when you talk about Nas and Jada. You don't want to see this.
But while Jim was caught up in the gym theatrics, 50 had already made a quiet move behind the scenes, and that Individual One label is still lurking in the shadows. Meanwhile, the internet was going crazy in the comments. Viewers couldn't believe a retired NFL Hall of Famer was out here defending Nas harder than most rappers. One fan even said, Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done. Others were dragging Jim, saying stuff like, Jones, you delusional. Shannon, thank you for saying it out loud. And honestly, they had a point. Why were Fat Joe and Jada so quiet during that original podcast when Jim was talking wild? While fans were laughing it up, 50 Cent was somewhere in the background just watching the whole show unfold like a man with a plan. He wasn't laughing with the crowd, he was plotting. And just when people thought the drama had reached its peak, things turned straight up petty. That's when fans dug up that old clip, the one that still stings. Back in the day, Jim didn't just get brushed off by Nas, he got clowned, laughed off stage, publicly dismissed. And now in 2025, that same humiliating energy is being recirculated like a throwback meme. But it didn't stop there. While Nas kept his cool and Shannon was hitting the gym like it was a pay-per-view match, someone else was watching from the shadows. And of course, it was 50 Cent. As soon as 50 heard Jim say he was better than Nas, he didn't argue. He just laughed and went straight into his vault of receipts. With one cold post, 50 dropped the hammer.
When it got, honestly, I can't, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice. He was so nice about him. How did you do that? What's the first sentence? What the fuck do you write about him? I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record. I'm like, yo. The used to have so nervous was like B.I.G., Pop. Right. Even Cannabis, like Eminem, he'd have you like, if we go at it, dog, we gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? But these Jim Jones, I respect you getting your money. You're like, exactly, right?
No caption, no hashtags, just the term Individual One. During Tekashi federal trial, prosecutors played a wiretapped phone call where someone was allegedly giving orders to violate Tekashi for snitching on the crew. They didn't drop a name in court, but they referred to the voice as Individual One. And word on the street, people been claiming for years that voice belonged to Jim Jones. Now let's be clear, Jim was never charged and the court never confirmed that it was his voice, but that didn't stop the streets, the blogs, and especially 50 Cent from running with it. That moment got burned into the internet forever, and 50 never let it go. Fast forward to now, with Jim puffing up on podcasts, throwing shots and trying to bait Nas into some lyrical war, 50 saw his moment. He slid back into his petty bag and pulled out one of his spiciest memes, the same one he posted and then quickly deleted back in the day. It read, "So that's why they didn't pull him in." A subtle jab, but fans knew exactly what he meant. People immediately started revisiting 2019 when the Shade Room posted courtroom updates from Tekashi's case. A verified reporter claimed Tekashi named Jim Jones as a 9 Trey member, and 50, being 50, jumped in the comments without hesitation. Then came the infamous video of 50 Cent pretending to look terrified, wide-eyed like he saw a ghost. He captioned it, "I'm afraid for my life."
I'm hiding out in Texas. Please, whatever you do, don't tell them I'm in San Antonio. Don't tell them I'm staying at the Four Seasons. Don't tell them, please don't tell them, man, because there's just so much pressure on me right now. I don't know what to do.
I mean, Jimmy is gang. The internet was cracking up, but Jim, he wasn't laughing. That twitch in his reaction said it all. But here's where it gets even deeper. 50 Cent didn't start this beef because of Nas. His issues with Jim Jones go way back, and this whole Nas situation just gave him a fresh excuse to drag Jim all over again. Back in 2007, when Dipset was already crumbling behind the scenes, 50 brought Jim Jones and Juelz Santana out on stage at a G-Unit show right in the middle of the crew's internal drama. Cameron saw that as pure disrespect, like 50 was purposely stomping on a group already falling apart. And by 2019, once the Tekashi trial hit full steam, Jim was back in the headlines, this time with a whole new label, Individual One. Prosecutors may have played that wiretap in court without ever charging Jim, but that Individual One label stuck like glue and the internet ran wild with it. The snitching rumors were everywhere and Jim definitely saw 50's petty parade on Instagram, all of it. But at first, Jim played it cool. He posted a throwback Bird Gang era photo, dripping in Dipset nostalgia, looking like he just stepped out of 2005. The caption, "Why you keep lying, LOL, I'm going back to sleep, free Mel Matrix till it's reversed." That wasn't just random. Free Mel Matrix was a message for his close homie serving 11 years on a racketeering charge, and at the same time, it was a jab at 50. Jim was basically saying Fifth out here fabricating stories, creating a whole fake universe to entertain his followers. But Jim wasn't done. He dropped another flex from the gym, doubling down on his war-ready energy. This time, the caption was aimed straight at Shannon Sharpe. Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe, don't start ducking this challenge now. You gonna talk like a podcaster or gonna walk what you talk? My sneakers tied. You challenge me in front of the world, might as well finish the job, champ. He even pulled Ocho Cinco into it, saying Chad didn't want to do it in public, so let's do it in private. And then he made it clear, size don't matter where I'm from, run it, we don't duck no challenges. While 50 Cent was throwing shade from the sidelines, Jim was in full battle mode, training like he had something to prove.
Yeah, Jimmy boy, you should have never brought this up. Y'all are only 3 years apart, and Nas is just like murdering you. You asked us to look up the stats, and here they are. Like Jim Jones, like you got a couple songs. I mean, like literally it's a couple. But we're talking about Nas. Let me show y'all Nas's last projects. Nas been getting it in since 2018. Jimmy, when the last time you put out an album? Oh, would you look at that? You have been dropping music. You've really been dropping music.
And just to drive it home, he dropped one more spicy message for the haters. It was aimed at the older heads coming for him over the Nas comments. If you 40 and up arguing with me about Nas, you already lost. Y'all fell for the bait. Then he broke it all the way down. My streams go up every time Mel goes viral. I'm teaching older artists a lesson in marketing. Y'all stuck in yesterday, mad at how things work today. Tighten up. And the final caption, that one hit with full bravado. I said what I said. P.S. I'll wrap circles around any artist from my era. Whoever dares to step in the booth, bring some money with you, cause this game ain't free. Jim wasn't just defending his name. He was calling out the whole generation, daring anyone to test him on any level. We outside in the field, take that how you want, but just know the work don't stop while Jim's out here talking heavy, dropping challenges, flexing in the gym like he's gearing up for a title match. Nas has been silent, not a bar, not a tweet, not even a whisper. That silence, it's starting to feel loud. And Jim, he's still at it, still baiting, still doubling down, still calling himself more influential than a living legend. But let's be honest, if Nas ever decided to respond, it wouldn't just be a diss, it'd be a lyrical execution. That pen, still sharp, and fans know it, but even the fans are getting fed up. They're calling Jim out left and right, saying he's reaching, clout chasing, and dragging his own legacy in the process. Yet he keeps pressing that line. Right now, the chessboard's still active, Jim's out front talking loud, Nas is in full Zen mode, and 50 Cent, man, 50's just lurking in the shadows, pulling strings like a true puppet master. And let's not forget, when 50 gets quiet, that's when you know he's loading something up. If there really is an unreleased wiretap and Jim keeps playing with fire, he might have just talked himself into something he can't walk out of. Because while Jim's rapping, posting, and lifting weights, 50's been too quiet. And when that silence breaks, it's usually too late to run. So now the big question is, will Nas finally step in and settle this with bars? Or will 50 let the internet do what the courtroom didn't and hit upload at just the right moment? Let us know what you think in the comments. Should Nas speak or keep letting Jim sink himself? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments below. And we'll catch you in the next one.